Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Intevsim Wejana and I am a spiritual medium. I would like to thank you greatly for subscribing to the channel, for following us across all social media pages, for following us when we are coming into your hometown and everything else. I really do appreciate the kind of attention that we get from you. I really want to thank people who teachings are so impactful on them that they will share it with their own colleagues. I like it that we are starting to influence the discussions at the tea table, at the coffee table. So that's quite interesting. So um, I'm wearing red today, red for danger, because we want to talk about something red, a very red liquid that runs in all of our veins. People like to say, it does not matter what race you are, because if you cut me, we will all ooze out the red blood. So today we are going to be talking about the thing that is quite common amongst us, which is the hemoglobin, the red liquid. Blood covenants. We are talking about blood covenants today. Here in readings, you will find that there are certain things that are making people to not go forward, to not propel in life. No matter what we do, no matter how many prescriptions we give, how prayerful we get, no matter how many mountains we go to, you would find that the circumstances and other people do not change until you discover that there had there has been a blood covenant that this person has willingly or unwillingly, they have consciously or unconsciously took part in a blood covenant. Now, blood covenants are scary, obviously, for people who are just squeamish and peevy about seeing blood. But blood covenants have worked, or there are people who believe in the power of blood covenants. So, long time ago, you will find people saying, I am making a sacrifice in order for me to get something from God. And if you go into the history of sacrifices, you will find that people used to sacrifice their own children, and it was a usual thing in those times before it became a criminal act, as the law caught up with many uh, with many changes in society. Some people would say they would then start to do an animal sacrifice. The most important thing in all of those sacrifices was the blood. And so now, when people did animal sacrifices, or in the book of Leviticus, as it will tell you, they would say, you will sacrifice this animal when this thing has happened. It depends what was the prescription, or what you were asking, or what kind of offering you wanted to give into God or deity or whatever object that you deemed fit to be something that will reciprocate your request with what it is that you are asking for. Now, the first thing that we encounter when people are reading the Bible, you will have a chapter where God Himself in the book of Genesis comes up to Cain, and he says to Cain that the blood of your brother was crying out to me from the ground after you have spilled it. So for those who do not have the necessary backup of that historical uh, verse, is that there are two brothers who are born of the first citizens of the world, as we are made to understand. And one of them was a farmer, and one of them had livestock. The other one used to farm food, and the other one had livestock. And they decided to bring an offering to God. And so these were their first fruits, and the other one's offering was bigger than the other one, and the other one was jealous, and he decided to go and murder the brother. And after he had murdered the brother, then we hear God saying to Cain that the blood of Abel cried out to me from the ground. And now people wonder why do certain people um, when they are killed, when their blood have been spilled, they are not well rested. It is because it is quite a spiritual understanding that when somebody has not reconciled with their death, has not accepted in the way that they would die, their blood will cry out. And that is why in most cultures, they will say when somebody has been killed violently, when they've been brutally killed, and when they've been shot, when they've had an accident, and all this kind of unnatural deaths, then we would say the body of the person does not come into the yard because now it will continue to perpetuate the cycle of blood spilling of blood of family members spilling. So it is quite natural for somebody's blood to cry out and seek some sort of a retribution or seek some sort of a solace or seek some sort of peace. And this is where us when we come in as mediums and somebody has died and we will pick it up that the soul of this person has not rested, and this is what we need to do, this is what we need to do in order for their soul to rest adequately, properly, or to rest in what we want for us to believe that they are in peace. Right. Now, if you look at biologically just the composition of your blood, if somebody has a high blood pressure or a low blood pressure, it will change the entire alignment of the body. And that is why those illnesses are so serious. So the elevation or the calculation of blood in your body needs to be in good balance so that your spirit, body, and mind functions adequately. And when one of those elements or the calculations are out of kilter, then you would have a certain thing. People can even die of a high blood pressure, the levels of the pressure that the blood is pumping or exiting in your body is causing you turbulence. And some people would be anemic because there's just not enough measurement of the pressure of the blood that is required for your whole body to be in balance. And now, when you go into the studies of it, you will find that there are other things that will happen that will cause, if that would happen with your blood, that will cause for your entire psyche to not be in good balance, for your spirituality to not be in good balance. Now, there are people who have good blood. And in other cultures, when somebody wants to say somebody is from a royal house, bazothi unegazi. We all have blood, but there's something quite distinct about the blood that one from the royal house has, because now there's a blood of authority. There's something in them wherever they go. Even if you do not know that this person is a royal, but there's something in their blood system, in their blood lineage, that will tell you that this one has authority over that one. And so there is a lot of things that people do based on the understanding that our blood can influence our entire setup and our entire aura. And sometimes you can use a certain person's blood to go and accomplish certain things when you are a person that does such things against others. And that is where people will say they sacrificed with you. So it is about the spilling of the blood. Sometimes people will sacrifice with you, because when you spill a blood of a certain organ, whatever that the person is requesting for as your blood spills, it will come quicker. Depending on what it is that you believe in, obviously, this is not a teaching for people to go and spill other people's blood, but it is a teaching for you to understand why certain things work, for other people, whether for people of kingdom of light or kingdom of darkness. But what we know is that when your blood is in good balance, then it throws a good communication between both body, spirit, and mind. Now, there are other people who understand blood covenants. The first encounter, or one of the encounters that we meet in the Bible, sometimes I will make certain references to the Bible because I've been brought up a Christian person before I could understand other dynamics of other systems of belief. And so when you go into the teachings of Saul, of David, and of Jonathan, you will find that Saul was a child of Jonathan. But now David comes into the mix as the new coming king of the Israelites. And now they decide to go into a blood covenant. David and Jonathan go into a blood covenant. And when they go into a blood covenant, they slit each other's wrists and they decide to go, your blood is my blood is your blood. And even though Jonathan was Saul's blood biological son, after the whole blood covenant, these two, which is Jonathan and David, felt like brothers, loved each other like brothers, and they could just never go back again. Even though when they were fighting and all of these things, the fight is coming into as if like this is a family fight, because even in the next the Bible makes us understand that from that moment Saul started to love David like his own son because of a blood covenant. And because of the importance of blood transfusions and blood covenants, other religious people will then say, we are against blood transfusions. Even if my child is in an accident and he needs blood and he has lost a lot of blood, I will not go into the South African Bank Blood Bank Association, so or whatever the body is I have. I will not go and ask that they give a pint of blood to my for my son to live. No, because the minute you start to put another person's blood, then the understanding is that it will change the whole formation of this being, and therefore my son would rather die than not be influenced by another person's aura, because we are sort of just now duplicating this person and making them to look like the other person. And so the issue of the blood is so important that even in a medical understanding, that when somebody gives a blood transfusion, there is a high possibility that your psyche, your body will reject that blood, even though this is it meets the entire criteria. This is the same blood type, same protein um, elements, and everything else. It could be just the same, but you would find that your natural aura will then reject that blood. And this is one of the reasons why people will die from a blood transfusion, because your normal entire makeup will just not agree to somebody else's blood. It happens. And now there are other people who have loved other people so much that, oh, Kate, I love you so much. Oh, Steve, I love you so much, my baby. And let you and I never part. And therefore, we are going to have a blood covenant. Spill your blood, I spill my blood. We put it around fire. And so we make sure that our spirits, our souls, are so bound together that nothing will ever come in between us. And now Steve dies. after that blood covenant that you made. And you are unable to go on because a part of you spiritually, your blood, is now in the tomb with Brother Steve. And you wonder, how come I'm always dreaming of Steve? I'm always feeling his presence. I can't do anything. Oh, I really cannot move on. Oh, but Steve and I loved each other so much. I can't even allow John to come into my space. Or sometimes you find that you just want to move on. But Steve is like, but babe, you and I are just bound by blood. So these blood covenants are very, 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 very important, and they are very dangerous, and they need to be, if ever there is something in your life that were ever to push you to have a blood covenant, understands the pros and the cons of such. And such people, certain people would then do a blood covenant um, to uplift their business. And they would feed into things because they've made a blood covenant. Whether they will say slaughter a cow every year, slaughter a thing every year, slaughter an individual every year in order for your business to grow and to remain relevant in the eyes of the consumers. But when you pass on, then the business dies because you did not tell the next lineage that you have made a blood covenant in terms of your business to grow or for whatever it is that you have decided that it shall be sustained or sustainable by the flow of blood of a being or of an animal. And that is why it's important to understand what is the foundation of this business. If I'm running a business like this, are there ancestors that are involved on this business? Is God involved in the business? How have I established the business? What is the foundation of this business? Or the foundation of this royal house? Or the foundation of this marriage? Or the foundation of any other thing that you have? Yeah. I once had an issue where my car was about to be repossessed, when life was really flaming up, and I was so desperate to salvage this car, and I really could not release it and let it go. And I asked one friend of mine who was quite knowledgeable in these things of spirit at the time. My information was extremely limited. We are forever learning in this life of spirituality, but at that time it was very limited. And I asked, what should I do? I want to save this car. We've paid, we've done whatever, but it seems like there's something in spirit that is really pushing this car away from my own hands. What do I do? And this person said to me, spill your blood from anywhere, either from the back of your neck, and go find fat of a cobra, like the snake animal cobra. Yes. um, find fat from it, and then mix it and pour in your car, and your that car will never move away from you. Obviously, when you tell me anything about spilling blood, I'm squeamish. You tell me about a snake, I'm gone. Gone. You will never find me. And it took me a long time to understand what was the principle of what this person was saying to me. And they were saying to me, I am going to tie my life, blood, my life, the symbol of my life. I'm going to tie it to the longevity that an animal cobra can live. It can live up to 250 years or even exceeding that, right? And so I was then going to say, for as long as I'm alive and this blood and the life of the cobra, I'm going to undertake it as me to be a representative of me and put it in this car. So we are really going to have a tripartite alliance between the car, the me, and the animal and the snake. And whoever tries to take this car will, I don't know whether they'll be spooked off or whatever. But for the 250 years that could potentially be a maximum of the lifespan of this snake, this car will remain in the family. Imagine, imagine, imagine. And I do not know whether I was going to be stopping future cars from coming to me or whatever, but something just said, no, Andes, I'm really not coming to this party of killing, of extracting my own blood and matching it with an animal. But that could have been a blood covenant. And it comes very naturally. So people do it. People would tie their assets to certain things. So that's a blood covenant. Now, there are other blood covenants that can go on without your own understanding or without you knowing that somebody is doing a ritual using your blood. And this is specifically for women who are going through the menstrual cycles, the age of menstrual cycles, anything from 18 up until you stop via your menopause, depending on what your biological clock is saying. And for some reason, I'm so convinced that my biological clock is ticking towards menopause. Lord, where did all my youth go? So there are other people who you would be intimate with, and over a long time you're like, but baby, I'm on my period. And your baby's like, but baby, I do not mind. Let's do the dance of the gods. And you would be thinking it's just as natural as that, which can be just as natural as that. But there's the downside of people who understand that they can perform a blood ritual while you are on your period and while you are going, oh, sweet mother of Jesus, this is so nice. And you are seeing stars and the moon, you know the song. I saw the stars, the moon, the mountains and the rivers. I saw heaven when I made love to you. You know that song? Mm-hmm. Yeah. One day you are seeing the stars, the mountains, and the rivers, and you are in your state of euphoria. Another person is bringing up something because they know they are busy in the passage of your blood. And now, because as a woman, when you are on your menses, you are at the highest elevation of creating any circumstance. And that is why when people of certain religions, they would say when a woman is on their menses, they must not touch blood, they are dirty, bachila fete, they are impure. But the real essence is that you are at the highest level of creating anything. And so when somebody understands that and they want a tender, they want a tender or they want whatever, when as you are going, oh my God, this is so nice. I don't know why people call God during such times. But anyway, because when you are having a climax, you are emitting the very same vibration that creates anything else to happen in the universe. So intrinsically, you are in the highest level of connection with, we shall spell it GAWD for the purpose of not being blasphemous. So you are really at the highest level of creation. And so when you are going, oh my God, somebody is saying, oh, the tender, and then they are making that connection via your blood. And batwala gamadiagahu, but you are having the nicest of times, and yet you do not know. So let us be careful of what we do around blood covenants. As I was doing this teaching on one of the platforms, because it came through on one of the platforms, there was a revelation for me that said that there are other people who their blood have been infected or affected, and for some people um, who have contracted the virus, the HIV virus, and there is some sort of a turbulence that has been happening in your spirit because now one person's blood has come in and it has sort of decided to cause a turbulence of your own makeup, right? There are other spiritual effects that people will have around I've been infected. Not that there are rituals that can heal you of HIV and AIDS. We have a medical understanding towards that. But what are the spiritual impact that have been made because point Josephine, I contracted the illness from Josephine, or I contracted the illness from Jeremiah, then what do I do? Spirit at that moment was saying there is something that keeps these two people in the loop, in a certain loop. And no matter what happens, because of the blood transfusion, we will keep on in our system becoming one. And there is a necessary step for you to do a blood tie break, to break that blood tie, so that your soul and your body, spirit, and mind does not get to be affected by the identity of another person, because now there has been a long term kind of an infusion or a turbulence in your blood system, right? And so obviously, there are things that we still need to go back into as spiritual people to get the accurate how do we help, right? But the responsible messaging is that once you do the soul tie, it does not mean that you are healed or you have cured the virus. It means that the spiritual impact of that infection in your whole flow, because there are people who are experiencing stagnancy in their lives because there's something that is now attached, that's now attached to another person's personality, spirituality, bloodiality. If I can have, if I can make my own words as for the purpose of understanding. But now how do you then separate yourself? Not that you've accepted the illness, you've accepted the positivity, you've accepted you are living a beautiful, beautiful, fruitful life like every other person that you are seeing just next to you. But there is a spiritual taint that that occurrence has done in your life. And for some other people, they have contracted the illness while they were doing good in their profession, the nurses, the doctors, and everything else. And in that way you might not know who actually you got the infection from. But for people who did, or who do understand and who know, then they have to do a soul tie break, and future information will come in. It is just that I needed to put it on record in this kind of a teaching, because I had done the teaching elsewhere before, and that was one of the last elements that they taught. And it is still information that is still pending for me to fully understand. They were giving me the kind of herbs to use in the steaming that is going to separate from a spiritual point of view. You keep to your medicine, you keep to everything else. You know how to keep your viral load to go down. You know how to be in a relationship with somebody who is negative, even though you are positive. You know how to have your children. The normal life goes on. But we just need to remove how that has marked you in spirituality, because your blood is very important. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. My name is Ntabisa Mujana, and I am a spiritual medium.